welcome to the witnesses as well. Could I just start with the Irish Property Owners Association, just in relation to the number of tenancies and the number of landlords. That's decreasing all the time. Is that correct? That's been decreasing. Both have. Okay. The RTB, their figures show that the actual number of registered private tenancies is up 4.6% annually, 340,604.
That's correct.
And the number of landlords grew by 1.4% in the last 12 months. So where's the mix?
So why is that? You're wondering why is that?
In a word, what's the problem? Is it landlords aren't being honest and registering? Is that what's happening?
That's one side to it. The other side to it obviously is that last November the RTB sent out 16,000 emails to numerous non-registered landlords and registered landlords. So that would have encouraged more and more guys to register. But absolutely, the registration numbers in certain counties were way below what they should have been. Galway in particular was bad, and so was Donegal.
There are other figures that show the actual number of tenancies, the number of units rented are actually up. The number of overall units are up.
The overall units
are figures that are showing that. Is that correct?
Sorry, cost rental is now included. And it
no,
wasn't
I'm talking private residents.
They are also registered with the RTB now,
yes,
so
I know, I
understand
that.
Figures.
There's an argument that they've changed the goalposts as to how they looked at the counting. They have they moved along from the old system where it was every 4 years you were registered, or every 6 years you were registered, and their amount of tenancies at that stage were different. Then when they moved in and they moved to annual registration, it was almost impossible to get the registrations over the line. Numerous landlords got frustrated; they just couldn't do it. They were going back and forth and trying to do it. Yeah. So you're looking at a point in time from around 2022
okay, we'll accept
to now.
That. I just watching Margaret just with the time. So the number of registered tenants is up. The number of registered landlords is up. I think you accept that the number of, and I understand some might not have been registered or difficult registering, but the actual number of rented units is up. Could I ask in relation to the in your opening statement where you said that in relation to tenants where they have low rents, there's evidence of black market, where black market activity, where tenants are actually renting, subletting to other tenants. Where is there much evidence of that, Morris? Margaret.
Again, we're getting the calls into the office.
We did a survey and 46% of our members have had subletting, whereby they have had tenants living in a property that they did not allow the tenant, they did not give permission for the tenant to be there. So it is happening all over. Brian, it makes perfect sense. You're stuck on an old rent of 2015 plus 2% of all the years going forward, and you're now getting that for so cheap, and your mate coming in from wherever. Why wouldn't you make 200 quid a month out of it or whatever?
Well, just the 46% would surprise me, because just I'm only saying from what I see, I wouldn't have thought it was anything near that. You know, of course there will always be somebody that will do that, but I wouldn't have thought it was widespread.
It's particularly strong in the Dublin area.
Right. Okay. They're more honest down the country. So could I just ask in relation to, and I understand why that would be, it's more, people are more anonymous, you know, there's not as much on the ground evidence and all that. Could I ask in relation to the fix for this issue of, and I get it, you know, where a landlord has been charging historically very low rent because he's a good tenant. You know, I know people who would have a second house and they've rented somebody cheap for a number of years. They're happy enough with him there. The rent would be half what it is generally in the general area. Happy days, but obviously it can cause problems now with the new restrictions coming in. In a word, what's the fix for that? You know, is it reference rents? How do we fix that without causing some other unintended consequence? How should that be fixed from your point of view?
We had suggested, the IPO had suggested that rents will be increased by 4% a year for 4 years and then revert to market rent at year 5, so that it wouldn't just completely fall off a cliff. But some of the rents are extremely low, and the tenants just aren't moving. And
so you say, Mary, that to revert to the market, the average market rent in the area? In the general area? In year 5, yeah. Right. So what you're saying is, just say I'm charging 60% now of what the market rent is in an area. So I continue charging 6%, I go up 4% each year. On year 5, then it levels out, it comes up to whatever the market rent is in the area.
Well, as Anne-Marie said, there most tenancies last from 3 to 4 years.
Yes.
So if a tenant knows that the rent is going to be at market rent by year 5, they know and they can plan for moving
So
before that, if they feel that the rent is going to be too strong at year 5.
So in effect, it becomes a reference rent.
I suppose you
Of
put
sorts.
it that way, yeah.
Okay, just look at the size of the property or other factors. And just what's the highest proportion of a person's net income or household income should be spent on rent? Just from your experience
Generally, I would look at 35%.
of net
Thanks.
income.
Yes, of take-home income.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks very much. We'll move on to Senator.